Welcome back, MG fam. Following a loss in the Sweet 16 to Washington, which was an unfortunate ending, we're going to go ahead and simulate the rest of the NCAA tournament and move on to the all season and prepare for season 12. What a bummer, man. So you guys know we lost that game 92-78, and that's the second time Washington defeated us. So in the Elite Eight, you got Washington facing UCLA, USC facing Wisconsin, and Florida facing Stanford, and last but not least, you got Texas A&M facing North Carolina. So we went ahead and simulated the Elite Eight, and in the Final Four, the teams are set. You got Washington advancing to the Final Four, and they'll face Wisconsin, 2-3 seeds, and then you got a 6 seed Stanford facing Texas A&M. But before we simulate the Final Four, let's check out the NIT Final Four. You got the Oregon Ducks making it to the Final Four, facing Xavier, and Arizona and Kansas. Two teams worthy of an NCAA tournament bid gonna be facing each other and seeing who's gonna make it to the championship game there in New York. So after simulating the NIT Final Four, you got Oregon facing Kansas, man. Oregon and Kansas, and I'm gonna bet my money on Kansas. And let's see who won it. Kansas ended up winning 85-74. So Kansas is actually, like, I believe, like a top 15 school. They should be in the NCAA tournament. Hey, they're full of dogs, but they had a rough season and ended up on the bubble and got sent home. Well, and got sent to the NIT, I would say. And now we're going to slide back to the NCAA tournament Final Four, where Stanford and Wisconsin will be facing each other in the championship game. You got Washington going down to Wisconsin, and Stanford taking out the top seed Texas A&M guys. So we're going to go ahead and simulate this one, and let's see if a 6 seed can win a national title. And yes, sir, look at Stanford beating Wisconsin 92-79. Stanford is not playing, man. What happened? Was they injured all years? And I think this is the first time the Pac-12 won a championship. Every Power 5 conference won a championship except the Pac-12. And lo and behold, the Stanford Cardinals ended up doing it. So the leading scorer in that championship game was Jagla from Stanford, who had 26 points, and the second leading scorer was Engel. And this team was very experienced, man. You can see a lot of juniors, one senior, so this team will be returning some great players next year, and maybe a few players might head on to the NBA draft. And now we're going to slide on to the award section, and the player of the year goes to Brent Lynch out of Wichita State. He had 27.8 points. So the player of the year being from a mid-major school means he's gonna win the mid-major award as well, and he does. He's a mid-major player of the year as well as a player of the year nationally. And the coach of the year goes to Mike White from Florida, man. What a great season from him. This guy, you know, he's still bringing in those great players, man, able to coach up some teams that is not as talented as teams that he had in the past, and he's able to move them all the way deep into the NCAA tournament as well as winning conference championships every year. And the defensive player of the year goes to Tyrone Willie of Texas A&M. He averaged almost 2 blocks a game along with 1.5 steals per game. And the big man of the year goes to Brent Lynch, once again from Wichita State, continued to win awards. That's 3 awards for the kid. Yo, he balled out his senior year. And the freshman of the year goes to Western Illinois' Dominique Sarantine, who averaged 12 points and 14 rebounds. Man, he was balling as a first-year player. So now we're going to slide on to the conference awards, man. And you already know we were the conference champs. Not our best team on paper, but this team performed as a unit better than any team Hbcu has coached. 18-0 in conference, 31-3 overall. And this team broke a lot of records, man. You guys can see the points scored. We broke that record this year. 122 we put up against Alabama State. Point differential, we won that game by 79 points. And we also had the most points in a half this year when we faced Arkansas Pine Bluff, when we dropped 75 on their head. And another record that we broke was the assist record, where we put 27 assists on Texas Southern. Also, this team broke season record. The most points in a season, we took that one with over 3,000. This team also averaged the most points per game under Hbcu, 90 points. Most field goals made, over 1,000. Best field goal percentage, 48%. And the most free throws made, 789. And free throw percentage, 72%. And rebounds, 1,297. Rebounds per game, we averaged 38.1, over 500 assists, and assists per game, 16.4. And if we could break any of those records, man, I'll be surprised, yo. Some great records put up by this squad. Like I said, on paper, this team didn't look like the best team, but when they hit the court, oh my goodness, I thought we had a championship team on our hands, man. So the conference coach of the year goes to our boy Hbcu once again. You might as well just name this conference coach of the year award after Hbcu, because his name is written all over this thing every year. And finally, we get another player of the year, man. This is our first player of the year since Wayne Wynn, and Vincent Morgan deserved it, baby. Deserved it. 21 points per game, yo. He jumped up 7 points over his average last year. And after our boy Okafor left, Vincent Morgan stepped up, man. He was balling out of control. He broke so many records, bro. And the conference freshman of the year goes to Damon Starkey. He averaged 9 points and 7 rebounds for Mississippi Valley State. And for the first team all conference, our boy Stapley and Morgan joins Dalgern from Arkansas Pine Bluff, Falls from Alabama A&M, and Burton from Jackson State. Unfortunately, we didn't have anyone on the second team, but you can see Hargett led the charge with Bay from Alcorn State, Morrison from Texas Southern, Reynolds from Texas Southern, and Sauchu from Arkansas Pine Bluff. But freshman all conference, we had one guy, my boy Adams. Then you had Grambling's Jarrell and Winston, and Mississippi Valley State's Starkey and Quinn. So now we're going to slide on to graduations, man. Another big departure for our squad. Vincent Morgan is leaving, man. 4 years, man, this guy came in as a 3-star recruit. He was Mr. Basketball of Arkansas. I don't know what the basketball world is in Arkansas, but if you're Mr. Basketball anywhere, you know you're a dog, man. You are worthy of a D1 scholarship for sure. Multiple ones. He was top 50 at his position. Came in, ball out of control, made freshman all-conference team, won conference freshman of the year, took the backseat to Okafor. He played his Scottie Pippen role for many seasons. When it came his time, he stepped up, and you could see he won that conference player of the year as soon as Okafor left and gave him the keys. So Morgan will graduate with a lot of records, man. He has the most points in one game by anyone that stepped foot on our campus, 44 points. He got that against Texas Southern. And he also broke Wayne Wynn record for most points in one season, 723. And he also finished as the leading scorer in Prairie View history with 2,084 points. And he leads with the record for the most three-pointers by anyone who ever played at Prairie View. He finished with 278, man. I'm not sure if anyone would be able to break that record. So another player that's leaving us is Dwayne Temple, the one-year player from Iowa. He transferred to us, and you can see he doubled his output in one season. It was kind of hard to fit him into the fold of the squad, but we found a place for him. Coming off the bench sometimes starting, he was able to contribute for us, and we appreciate this guy effort and everything else he gave us. So now we moving on to my boy Corey Hbcu's record. You guys can see that he's won 241 games, lost 107. No championships, baby. No NCAA championships. We're going to try our best to do it. The last few seasons, he went to the Sweet 16, Final Four, Elite 8 in the second round of the NCAA tournament. So we didn't get any attribute points this year, but you can see Hbcu offense is currently at B. His defense is at A-. His teaching is at C+. His scouting is at C-. His charisma is at A-. And his discipline is a B. So while we're on the topic of coaches, we're going to slide to the coaching carousel. So there was some big positions available. You had the Arizona job coming available after Coach Miller retired. And the guy to take the job is Charlotte's head coach, Coach Shayer, who comes in with a 150-70 record. I think he has what it takes to take this team back to the top, man. With a 95 overall rating, the team is primed for another deep run in the NCAA tournament. Another notable change, which comes from our conference, is Coach Banks being fired from Southern, and they brought in TCU assistant Coach Diddley. This will be his first time leading a team, so it'll be interesting to see if he can do something. I thought Coach Banks did a pretty decent job with Southern last year compared to previous seasons, but I guess it wasn't enough. And another signing in our conference will be Coach Moss going to Alabama State, replacing Coach Kelly, who got fired. Coach Moss comes in from Wright State. He was an assistant there, and this is not his first gig. He is currently 16-38 as a head coach, and he will look to build on that. This team has a lot of room for improvement, but 60 overall squad is going to be kind of hard to get at least 8 wins next year. They got 7 last year. And now we're going to move on to the transfer recap. So we didn't receive any transfers as usual, but some teams did. And the top transfer this year is Donnie Cottrell. He will head to Lipscomb after leaving Georgia Tech. He's a power forward, 81 overall. And another one is Hoffman from Boston College. He will head to Monmouth. And the only player to transfer to our conference was Vincent Milton, a 6'10 small forward from Utah Valley State. He will head to Alcorn State. Well, 58 overall, that's not much. But I guess he'll be like a 60 coming in next year. But he might be able to contribute for that squad. So now we're going to ride over to the recruiting part of the offseason, where we saw Drake Barnett, who we've been recruiting all season long, leave us to go somewhere else. So the school he ended up going to was the University of Illinois, Chicago, where we thought he was going to go. He's staying home and going to play basketball near his fam. And I can do nothing but respect that, man. But we still got some guys on our board, and we're going to see if we can sign them. So we added a JUCO to our board, which is J.C. Cobb, a 6'5 small forward who is from Dallas, Texas. He has us in the 4th place spot, but we're the only scholarship offer on his list. And during recruiting, we were able to sign that guy. He comes in with great potential, a B-, and he has pretty decent shooting, which will help us a lot. Now we're going to check out what happened around our conference when it came to recruiting. So you guys know we signed J.C. Cobb. He was our only signing for this year. 3-star JUCO kid from Dallas, Texas. And Southern ended up signing 3 players, all point guards, Martell Clement being their best player. Texas Southern signed 1 player as well, just like us. A center, a 1-star guy with no ranking. I guess they could have saved that scholarship. Alabama State signed 3 players, and 2 of them were power forwards and 1 small forward. Their best player being Chip Conklin, the 3-star power forward from Atlanta, Georgia. And then you have Alcorn State signing 2 players. 1 power forward, 1 small forward, Vic Duffy, who's probably the best player that was recruited throughout the conference this year. They also signed a 2-star small forward in Ramsey. And Arkansas Pine Bluff signed 2 players as well, a shooting guard and a power forward. Their best player was Teddy Page, the 6'3 shooting guard from Fayetteville, Arkansas. And Grambling, they loaded up with their signings. They got 4 players, 3 power forwards and 1 small forward. Their best player being Adam Kuyate from Irving, Texas. He's a top 300 player and top 50 at his position at power forward. And Jackson State ended up loading up as well. They signed 4 players, 2 small forwards, a point guard, and a center, and their best player was Bronski Hall, who was Mr. Basketball for the state of Arkansas. Just like our guy Vincent Morgan, so he might be a dog, man. We should have signed him because Arkansas seems to produce some monsters. And last but not least, you got Mississippi Valley State, who didn't sign anyone, which is not a good sign as well. So going into this season, our goal is, you already know, to win the conference championship, regular season and postseason conference championship, as well as pull some big upsets. We're going to try to get payback against Washington for knocking us out of the NCAA tournament, and we're going to try our hands again at another NCAA championship. So now we're going to jump into the season preview. Let's see what it looks like, man. And first up, you got the top 5 teams. Syracuse is number 1 coming in this year. Number 2 is North Carolina. Number 3 is Wisconsin. Number 4 is the Florida Gators. And number 5 is the West Virginia Mountaineers. Surprisingly, the national champs are not in the top 5. You figure with all of that talent they have returning, that a lot of people will believe in them. And the notable teams from 6 to 15 is the Washington Huskies, who took us out, man. Put a bad taste in our mouth. We're going to try to take them out. And the Kansas Jayhawks, they're in the top 15. And there goes your last year's champs, the Stanford Cardinals. And from 16 to 25, you have some pretty good teams as well, like Memphis, the Ohio State Buckeyes, the Maryland Terrapins, the Gonzaga Bulldogs, and you can't forget the USC Trojans. And for the first team All-Americans this year, you got Texas A&M Cook at point guard. At shooting guard, you got Spanky from Maryland. And then at small forward, you got Lorenzo Hines from North Carolina State. And at power forward, you got TJ Gord, still holding it down for the Florida Gators. And at center, you got Ali from North Carolina. The best player out of that bunch has to be Spanky from Maryland. The guy averaged 22 points last year. Watch out for that guy, man. He might end up being the player of the year. You can't forget about TJ Gord as well from Florida. He averaged 15 points per game last year. He's going to be looking to increase on that 50. He might be averaging 20 plus this year. And for the second team All-Americans, you got 3 players from West Virginia, man. The first one, Trevor Meade, the point guard. And you got that guy Carter from Washington who gave us trouble last year at shooting guard. And you got Robbie Clifton from Maryland holding it down at small forward. And then you got Modica and Frisbee at power forward and center holding it down. You know, West Virginia look like they got the best team this year probably. So during the season preview, you guys didn't see anything about any of the SWAC teams because we're not worthy enough. So we're going to slide into our own season preview here. So first up for us, we have the Alabama A&M guys who are 72 overalls this year. Pretty good at shooting, pretty decent at rebounding as well. And they're led by their coach McFarland, who had a pretty okay season last year. And then you have Alabama State with their first year head coach. They're 63 overall. We're not expecting much from them. They can rebound the ball okay, I guess. If you want to say 67 is okay, they're not great at anything. And Alcorn State has a 68 overall. Coach Ogden finally got a little motion going on over there. The shooting is better, the rebounding is better, the defense is slightly better as well. And for Arkansas Pine Bluff, not much happened with Coach Eustache. This is a make or break year for him. He has pretty decent rebounding on his side, and hopefully his team can finish in the top 3 of our conference and he can save his job. And for Grambling State, they always stay with a decent squad, 70 overall team, pretty good at rebounding and pretty decent at everything else. So Coach Buckley, he might be competing this year with somebody. Nobody's gonna compete with us because we're just too good. Jackson State, Coach Ballard, 62 overall. Rebounding is okay on his side, so you're gonna just have to utilize those second chance opportunities to give his team a chance. It seems like the SWAC got pretty decent rebounding, but nothing else. And Mississippi Valley State, okay, so they're back up there in the top. So Coach Curry said, give me a few years, we're gonna have a pretty decent squad above 70. They got pretty good shooting, pretty good rebounding, and defense is okay, and offense is okay. So they might be back competing with the big dogs. And Southern, it looked like it's gonna be a down year for Coach Diddley because their last coach stumped the place up, couldn't recruit or anything. It seems like they've been having a rough time these last few years. Seems like they've been having issues for the last 5 to 6 seasons. And for Texas Southern, man, they're on the up and up. They got a 70 overall squad, 74 rebounding, 75 shooting. Okay, Texas Southern gonna be out here trying to make something happen once again this year. And you can check out the top players from our conference. We have Frank Reynolds as the best overall player. Nobody from Prairie View is the best overall player. Frank Reynolds come in as a junior this year and he's a 78 overall. And the best freshman goes to Alcorn State's Vic Duffy. We said that he was going to be the best freshman to come in this year. He's a 73 overall already. And the best shooter is from Prairie View, baby. My boy Stapley holding it down. The best playmaker is our boy McCoy. 66 overall, but he plays like a 80 overall. And the best pro prospect is our boy Reeves, holding it down, 77 overall. And the best defender, Stapley, 77 overall. Let's get it, baby. So now we're going to slide on to our preseason recruiting. We done filled our board up, and we only have 2 scholarships on the table this year. So we got 1 underclassman that we're eyeing, and the rest of them are seniors. But we only have 2 scholarships, so we're going to have to figure out who to give it to out of these 4. First up, you got Ernest Mann, the 16 senior from Pasadena, Texas. Need us a big man to come in. Somebody, he might be a power forward on paper, but 6'10", he can play center for us. And next up, you got Emerson Townsend, still on our board, 6'7", 227, power forward. We're going to see what we can do with him from Houston, Texas. And you got Jameer Barrett, a shooting guard from Houston, Texas, 6'3", 207. See if we can get him in there. We want another shooter for sure. And then we have Gene Everson, a point guard, 5'11" kid. He's from Ola, Texas. 150 overall recruit, 54th at his position. And don't forget about Jason Hollins, a guy that we're going to keep our eyes on for the next few years. He seems like he's creeping up on being a 5-star recruit, and that might be the only way we can get a 5-star recruit in this legacy. Now that we iron out all those details of the all season, we're ready to jump into our next season, which is season 12, and you guys get a quick look at our starting lineup, what we're going to try to do this year. So we're going to start my boy Lil Mac at point guard. We're going to see if he can explode as a big scorer this year, hopefully average like 15 points a game. Then we're going to put Stapley as shooting guard. That will give us 2 guys that can distribute the ball. And then we're going to have Kane as small forward, who provides great defensive awareness for our squad. And we're going to put Cameron at power forward. And then we're going to slide Reeves back to his original position at center. So coming off the bench, our 6th man will be Big Mac this year. We're going to see if coming off the bench will help us this year keep the flow of the game. When we are not with our star players on the floor, we'll be able to have somebody to facilitate or get our offense jump started, man. We need that big man down there that can give us guaranteed baskets on that second team. And that concludes our off-season / preseason video. And I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with your boy. I never expected in 30 years, a million years, that we would be rocking into season 12 without a national title. If you would have told me this maybe a couple years ago when I started this series, I probably would have opted out of not doing it. But I'm still enjoying this thing, man, and I love the challenge. I like long drawn out challenges, but you want to win sometimes, man. You want to win for sure, but we're going to keep pushing it on, man. As long as you guys are supporting this series, I'm going to continue to pump out the videos, and I appreciate you guys for watching once again. I'll let your boy McGruff, and I'm out of here. 1.